veterans. So you have an upcoming high-level review informal conference, but you are unclear on what questions you should be asking. So in today's video, I'm going to share a few questions that I think you should ask during your upcoming high-level review instead of just saying, let me tell you my story. Let's go ahead and get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dwayne. I got a video for that Kimball, United States Army veteran, retired VA rating specialist, and your VA claim nugget man. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. So you have that high-level review and formal conference coming up, but you are unclear on what questions you should be asking the decision review officer, also known as the DRO. Don't worry about it. You know your VA claim nugget man got you covered, okay? So let's go ahead and get into some of these questions. Question number one, request permission to record the call. Now, there is nothing inside the 38 CFR, the M21-1-4-5 that gives you the right to record the call. But most importantly, why would you want to record this? Because you can always go back and listen to it to see if you missed something, okay? Because this is going to be very nerve-wracking, especially if this is your first time, okay? You're definitely going to be nervous. But again, the DRO may say no. If they say no, just go ahead and proceed, okay? Now, question number two, identify the reviewer. When you pick up that phone call, they are going to identify you. They're going to ask you some questions, okay, to confirm that you are the correct veteran they are speaking with. So in return, I would be asking, hey, what is your name? Okay. Where are you located? Which regional office are you located? What is the 3-digit code for that office? Okay. That's very important because you want to keep that for your notes, because if you have to do a supplemental or go to BVA or something like that, you have that information. Okay. Question number three, confirm the required cursory review. Okay. Under the M21-5 procedures, the reviewer should have completed a cursory review before the conference. Now, keep in mind, people, should. There is nothing saying that they have to, other than the M21-5 saying they should. So they're not going to get a quality error if they don't do this. Now, back when I rated, I never was a DRO, and never was a decision review officer, but I did facilitate what is called a RVSR hearing. Guess what, people? In Nugget Man, I got a video on that, all right? So before I even facilitated or conducted that RVSR hearing, I made myself familiar why that veteran requested an RVSR hearing. And I went back and I looked at the information because I didn't want to get in front of the veteran and seem like I didn't know what was going on. But you can just ask that individual, have they did a cursory review? Now, it's not a review of the entire VA claim folder. Okay, don't get that confused. All right. Basically, what is the disagreement? Why is the veteran? What is the veteran's disagreement in the rating decision? Is it the effective date? Is it the percentage assigned? Is it the denial for service connection? Okay, so just a cursory review, not a review of everything. Don't get that confused. All right. Question number four, who will make the decision? Ask a simple question. Before we move forward, will you be the person completing the high-level review decision, or will another reviewer be making the final determination? Now, they should be the same person. The person that's conducting an informal conference should be the same person that is going to make the decision per the M21-5. But there are some instances where they may not be the same person. I've seen this happen before, but you don't see it happen a lot, okay? So if the decision review officer, let's say they get into a car accident or they have unexpected surgery and they're out for a certain amount of time, they may assign it to someone else. You don't see that a lot, okay? Unlike the RVSR hearing, if it's some type of adverse action, so for example, I'm a rater and I propose to reduce you or I propose to sever, that is called adverse action. And if it affects your overall percentage, meaning there's going to be a reduction, the veteran can elect for an RVSR hearing. Now, if I completed that adverse action, I cannot conduct that RVSR hearing. It's going to be done by someone else. Okay. So I think that's a legitimate question to ask. All right. Let's keep going. Veterans, are you tired of being frustrated and ready to be educated on the VA claims process? No worries. VA Claim Nugget Man got you covered. Pick up my new book, The VA Compensation Blueprint. It's time to win. The link to pick up your copy is in the description section below. Now back to the video. Question 5, confirm the issue being disagreed with. All right. So basically what you're doing is you're trying to find out if they did that cursory review. But you overall, you want to know, hey, decision review officer, do you know what my disagreement is? Okay. And I think that's important because if they say yes, then okay, obviously you all going to be on the same sheet of music. Okay. Question number 6, confirm the scope of the review. Okay. So clarify how the reviewer will approach the decision. You could say something like, hey, during your review today, will you be evaluating only the issue identified in the high-level review request? Basically saying, are you only going to take issue with my disagreement, or will you also review the decision for additional potential errors? Now, I think this is important because you, the veteran, you don't have any formal VA claim training. Okay. So even though you read that rating decision, okay, you could have missed some things. Okay. So if you're disagreeing with, let's say, the effective date, you may not caught that they made a mistake with assigning a particular percentage, meaning they lowballed you, they gave you 10% and it should have been at 30. So basically what you're asking is, Joe, hey, I disagreed with the effective date, but if you see any other errors that I didn't catch in that rating decision, will you address those as well? And that could fall under a CUE. They could do that as well. So it's very important that you ask that question. And the reason why I would ask that question is because that should put that drawer on notice and be like, okay, wait a minute, let me, take my time, which they should be doing anyway, but let me take my time and go through to ensure there are no other errors the veteran did not catch or the RVSR made in that particular rating decision. Okay, let's keep going. Question number 7, clarifying the disagreement and evidence. Okay, this is where you point out what you think the error is based on. And a lot of times it's the evidence that it could be the evidence that you submitted. Okay. So this is where you tell the DRO exactly, hey, this is where I think the error was based on, incorrect effective date, the incorrect percentage assigned, or you just could be disagreeing with the denial for service connection. And here's why. Okay. This is not the time, people. This is not the time. I'm going to say it again. This is not the time. This is not the time. This is not the time to say, oh, let me just tell you my story. I guarantee you're probably going to lose that draw. Okay. So let me give you an example just right off the cusp. Okay. For clarification, I am disagreeing with the denial of service connection for my sleep apnea secondary to my service connected PTSD. I submitted what I believe to be an actionable and sufficient evidence, including a DBQ and Nexus opinion from my private treating physician of 5 years. Okay. Now, there's a couple of 38 CFRs that you could use in this particular instance. Okay. But again, you're just telling them, hey, this is why this is why I disagree based on this. And you, the veteran, you have to be very familiar with the evidence that you submitted. You have to be familiar with that rating decision. You have to be familiar with the 38 CFR or the M21 reference that shows or backs up why you should be service connected, a higher percentage, or earlier effective date. Okay. It's just that simple, people. Now, you may think, hey, Dwayne, that's going to be very difficult. No, I have a lot of videos where I'm breaking down a lot of this that I'm talking about today. Okay. Don't overthink the process. I think that's one of the things that when it comes to the VA claims process, a lot of people think that the entire process is very difficult. Actually, it's not. Now, certain parts, certain parts of the process is very difficult, but a lot of it is not because the VA is giving us the answers in the 38 CFR and in the manual references. They're giving us the answers. We just have to do the heavy lifting and go out there and find those answers and apply it to what we're doing with our particular claim. Okay. So you always want to do a conclusion. Okay. At the end, you want to explain or give an explanation. Keep it short, direct, and to the point. And guess what? I got an example for you. All right. So you want to say something like, or I would say something like, based on the evidence already submitted, I believe an error occurred in the original decision. You can give the date of that decision if you like, but the decision review officer should already know it. I submitted an actionable and sufficient medical evidence, including a DBQ and Nexus opinion from my private treating physician of 5 years. Why that is key is because obviously you elected not to go to, or I elected not to go to a CMP exam. I'm letting them know that's my treating physician of 5 years. Okay. After contacting 800-827-1000, the VA's National Call Center, I confirmed that no note was left in the VBMS system explaining why my private evidence was refused and why a CMP exam was requested per the M21-1. Guess what, people? I got a video on that, and I share that M21-1 with you. Therefore, I am politely requesting that you rate my claim based on the evidence of record and not return my claim as a DTA error, duty to assist error, back to the rating activity. And I know a lot of you asking, well, Dwayne, what is the rating activity? You know your VA claim nugget man got you covered. I got a video on that. Okay. So basically that's just where the rating specialists sit. Okay. Now, closing statement. You can do that too. And a lot of times they'll ask you, hey, do you have anything else to add? If they don't have any other questions, they could have some questions. So be prepared for that. Okay. But if they don't, they may say, hey, we're wrapping up. Is there anything else you would like to add? Yes, Mr. or Miss Joe. Before we conclude, I would like to thank you for the work you do for veterans and for taking the time to review my claim today with me. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss my disagreement with you. Based on everything that I discussed today, do you have any questions for me or need clarification on anything in my file? Now, out of everything that I just gave you, I think that conclusion statement is the most important, okay? Because during that time, they could have maybe jotted down some notes and said, well, let me ask the veteran this, or let me ask the veteran that. So you're giving them that opportunity. Hey, do you have any questions of me as anything that from anything that I talked about today, or do you need clarification on anything? Okay. So out of everything that I talked about, again, people, I think the conclusion, that statement is going to be huge. But leave me a comment and let me know if you had a conclusion statement. Basically, you asked that Dro, hey, you have any questions for me? Do I need to clarify anything to you? Leave me a comment and let me know if you did that. All right. So with that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and please do not forget to share this video with your fellow veterans. Thank you. Don't be frustrated, get educated.